Welcome to So On Brand, the podcast where wellness, mindset, and branding come together to empower ambitious female entrepreneurs and network marketers who are here to stand out and level up. I'm your host, Bailey Stewart, and I'm on a mission to help you build a brand that commands attention, establish authority, and step into the healthiest and wealthiest you. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, stand firm in your authenticity, and bring in some serious cash flow, then you're in the right place, babe. I'm so happy you're here. Let's do this. Hello, you guys. What is up? Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. Things got crazy for a second, you guys. I can't even explain to you, but we're back. We're locked and loaded. We're better than ever, baby. So here we go. We are committing. I'm just saying it now. I'm going to just put it out there. We are committing to weekly episodes, okay, you guys? Weekly episodes. Please come bang my door down if there is a week that I go without dropping an episode, okay? We're committed. So on the last episode, you guys heard me talk a lot about my habits and my routines, and those are the things that ultimately have allowed me to really step into this next level of my life, okay? If you've followed me for a while, this past year, it has been a major transition, transformation, I don't know what you want to call it, but we have just made a complete 180. I don't say this in the sense of like just my business. I just mean life 180. So today we are going to be talking all about how I took my business from 50K months to 300K months, how to scale, how to pivot, what I did, how I did it. We're diving in. Okay. And if you guys have followed me for a while, you have seen, especially this past year, a major pivot, a major transformation, transition, etc., whatever you want to call it. Okay? We've been through it. And now I can't specifically tell you how to scale your own business unless you're in my organization, of course. But this episode is going to be some hard truths and things that you gotta freaking do if you want to make more money, if you want to grow your business, if you want to step into that next level of leadership, entrepreneurship, of just yourself in general. This is for you. This is how you do that. If you guys are watching this on video right now, I feel like I am really talking a lot with my hands right now. But anyways, I digress. So the first thing that I want to say to you guys, ain't nobody coming to save you, okay? Nobody's going to come do it for you. Success is not going to come slap you in the face or beat down your door or beg you, okay? And listen, I'm preaching to the choir because I used to expect that too. So if you're someone who's like, gosh, I'm feeling kind of called out right now, it's okay because I'm just calling myself out. All of this episode is going to be literally the things that I had to get real with myself about. I had to really drop the excuses and get over myself and get over what I thought this was supposed to look like and just dive in and go head first into what it was and take everything for face value and just like pick myself up and get going. So I'm preaching to the choir when I say that, but nobody's going to come and save us. No one's going to beg us to have success or to go and do the things that we need to do day in and day out. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a boss. Even if you do have a boss, our boss really can't make us do shit. So that's the first thing, okay? Point blank, period, dot. One of the fears of starting this podcast was, I didn't ever want to sound like preachy or like I had already like arrived, because let me tell y'all, I have not arrived. However, I have worked my ass off for the last 3 years to really focus on leveling up, and I've achieved some crazy freaking goals. So the purpose of this podcast alone, but specifically this episode, is just to give insight on what I've learned along the way so far. Not to make it sound like I'm just winning all day, every day, and then I'm at my peak and I've arrived and I've made it. I'm not, okay? Get it? Got it? Moving on, okay? Back in June, I resigned my position at my previous company, and I walked away from a business that I had built for about 6 years. This was one of, definitely not the most, but one of the hardest periods in my career, but also arguably in my life. My team and I were doing around 50K a month in revenue. When we finally reached that point for the first time, it was April 30th of 2022. I left that company on June 20th, 2024. For 2 years, I did not grow. We did not grow. Nothing changed. If anything, we started to backslide. We spent 2 years dying, literally dying, working our asses off to try and grow, and it just wasn't happening. And anyone who knows me will tell you that it is not because I wasn't trying. It was not for a lack of effort. The biggest thing I want you guys to understand is that not all environments foster growth and not all seasons are meant to be forever. And this is important to understand because there's this stigma around a pivot. You're looked at as a quitter or that you gave up or whatever. And that was what kept me at that company for so long. And hindsight's 2020, but also hindsight, I'm so glad that happened because if I would have pivoted the second I started to feel this pull, Make Wellness and this new business I'm part of and this new company and culture, it didn't exist. So who knows where I would have been. So it all happened in divine timing and I'm forever grateful for that. But there's this stigma of people who pivot and specifically in the network marketing and social selling space where they have shiny object syndrome and they need to just stay put and grow where they're at. The grass isn't always greener. It's bullshit. Sometimes the grass is greener. Sometimes where you're at, the grass is dying and there's no amount of water or fertilizer that can freaking revive it. That's the truth. And that's where I was. So this shift happened in me. And over those 2 years, I started to really feel misaligned. I reset, I refocused, I relaunched like 3 freaking times and nothing. And that's when I finally decided to start thinking into other options. I was not about to go back to school to being a social worker. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to dive into what areas I could really provide value in and what ways I could monetize it. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I'm going to make money, okay? I'm going to figure it out. It's okay. And so I started taking a ton of courses on social media and content creation and the strategy behind posting and selling online. Literally December 31st of 2023, I hired a business coach and I launched my own social media and branding company. And it was fantastic. Not only was this an area that I studied for over 2 years, but it was also an area that everyone came to me for. Real quick, if you are an entrepreneur and you are looking for other ways to monetize, just ask people what they need from you. They will tell you. And so for a year, I focused hard on a rebrand, not just of social media, but of my life, of my presence, how I wanted to show up in business, how I wanted to leave people. I really stepped into this new season of entrepreneurship outside of the network marketing space where I was ready to run. And I did. That business took off. It was incredible. We launched a social media management agency off of that as another branch. Like me and my husband, like we were in it. And when I say I rebranded, I'm talking like think elevated, bold, unapologetic. I was in this era of feeling so burnt out from trying to fit into a box or scale at a place that just wasn't set up for that and trying to do it in a picture perfect way that I was told by someone who doesn't even freaking matter was the way to do it. There's so many things wrong with that statement. Like I was listening to someone who not only had no control over my paycheck, no control over my life, but also really didn't even know me. I was listening to her. This is crazy to even say out loud, but I was listening to her about who I should be and who I should show up as. And I was taking that for face value and running with it. And no wonder I wasn't aligned, right? So what did I do to rebrand? This is going to literally teach you if you are in a space where you are like, okay, you took your business from 50K to 300K. I want to do that. Or you left a company and rebuilt and did it even bigger and better at another company. I want to do that. If this is you, if you are feeling a pull to something bigger, better, different, just period, point blank, a pivot, this is going to be for you. So what did I do to rebrand? First and foremost, I got super crystal clear on how I wanted people to feel when they worked with me or when they consumed my content. I wanted women to feel excited, empowered, strong, comfortable being whoever they wanted to be. I wanted them to feel closer to God, or at least more curious of God because of the way I led my life. I wanted them to be like, okay, we are kind. We love to serve others. We want to make a difference. We love Jesus, but also we take no shit. We are loud and wild, and we don't give an F. That was like the mood board, if you will. I made a mood board. Physically made a mood board on Pinterest. Listen, this is my thing, okay? If you know me, you know anytime my life or my business needs an overhaul, we start with a vibe. We start with a mood board, okay? So I nailed down exactly why I wanted to start sharing what I was going to start sharing. I figured out the vibe. I figured out how I wanted to leave people. And then I figured out what I wanted to share, why I wanted to share it. And then I found multiple ways to align that with who I already was to my core. Our business should align with our persona, not the other way around. We should build a culture and a community based on who we already are to our core. Again, not the other way around. So I had to take this new version and figure out, is this actually aligned with me? If it is, how can I portray that online? How can I leave people feeling closer to God, but badass and empowered, but kind and loving? Like, how could I encompass this version of me that I felt emerging in a way online to where it could help me build a brand and ultimately a business? You guys have heard me talk about this before. If you listen to the podcast, or if you consume any of my content, you have heard me say that building a personal brand is the ultimate flex because it gives you what I call power of the pivot, or a more fun term for it is the Kardashian effect. And when I started to pull away from my previous company, I started to feel this sense of fear because I was like, oh, what am I going to post about? What am I going to say? How am I going to talk to people? What value can I even bring if it's not surrounding liquid collagen or my business there? And that's a problem. And so if you can build a personal brand that is true to who you are and who you want to be to your core, you will always and forever have the Kardashian effect, or have the power of the pivot. I call it the Kardashian effect because Kim K has built such an incredible, all the Kardashians, but specifically Kim, has built such a strong personal brand that, and love them or hate them, I don't care, but she has built such a strong personal brand that she could sell trash bags on the corner and people would sell it out within minutes. And that's what I want for myself. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for all of my clients. I got really specific about this branding, and I wanted to give myself that power of the pivot that I felt I didn't have, because it was terrifying pulling away from that company. It was all I knew. It was all I've ever had success in. I never used my degree from college. I had no success in the company prior to that one. I worked at Starbucks and I was kick-ass at making coffee, but like, okay, I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. And so it's like this overwhelming amount of fear took over, and I felt completely hopeless and so scared. That was the moment that I decided I will not ever rely on a company or a job or a career path to be who I am or to be my whole personality. I created a brand that was true to who I was so that I could align my business with that. So I could align the culture I was building with that. This is such a strong and powerful place to be, because if you do it the right way, if you build a personal brand the right way, you will forever be able to do whatever you want and pivot and move and adjust and adapt, and the people who are with you will stay with you as long as you're genuine, you're a good person, and you do what you say you're going to do. So at this moment, I was like so scared that I wasn't going to be able to pivot out of this because I had spent so long attaching myself to something that wasn't actually me. And I'm not going to lie, when I first started talking about social media and branding and putting out content that was value driven around that, people were confused. They were like, what is Bailey doing? Like, she completely just switched gears on us. And it took a while for me to train my audience and allow them to see me in this light and allow them to, understand that I am an authority in that space and I did know what I was talking about. But guess what? I had to tell them. No one was going to tell them for me. Like I said at the beginning, no one's going to bang your door down and just beg you to have success. No. I had to figure out, okay, these people see me as like liquid collagen, whatever the hell. And I have to figure out a way to detach myself from that in a way that's not going to crush my credibility. Right? And it's not that I didn't still believe in those products and that I didn't still identify with that part of me that had preached about that product for so long, but I had attached myself to it so strongly that there was a really big learning curve and a really big lag in growth at first because people didn't know what I was doing. People didn't know to expect that. But here's the thing that happened. Once I finally got to that point, and it didn't take too long, it was a couple months. That's it. It was a couple months of waiting, a couple months of grinding without really seeing a return. But I stayed the course. I'm an entrepreneur. I get it. It takes time. We do a lot of work without getting paid for it right away. We know this. But then what happened is people started to catch on. And they were like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Why wouldn't you have done this? Why hadn't you done this earlier? And then it took off like wildfire, and it was the best thing ever. Once Make Wellness and this new company fell into my lap, I was like, okay, I'm ready to dive back in. This is going to be the best thing for me. And now I can build it in a way where it is not my identity. And there was so much power in that. When I transitioned, I felt this sense of like pride, and I felt this sense of strength where it was like, this is just something I do. This is not me. And it felt so good. And I think that that is one of the main things that has really allowed me to take this from something that was a $50,000 a month producer to a $300,000 a month producer. Those are wildly different businesses. And although I did change my branding and I definitely pivoted and I did an overhaul of how I was showing up online, I didn't change anything about myself. I didn't change the things that I was saying. I didn't change the way that I was talking to people. I didn't change me. I just had to rebrand in a way that was detaching from that old version that I was trying to keep up with that was not me. So I guess we could end the episode there. Like, really, that's all you need to know, is that when you show up authentically and build authentically in a way that is so aligned with who you are to your core, boom, baby, business is flourishing. When you're doing it in a way because you think that that's the way you're supposed to be and because that's who you've been told to be, but it's not you, you're going to struggle. You might grow for a little bit like I did, but you're going to hit a breaking point like I did too. Because we cannot keep up with a facade. We cannot keep up with a persona that is not us. So that is one of the major things that I really think attests to all of the growth and all of the just life-changing things that has happened over this transition period. So what did I do to pivot? I feel like a lot of people are super scared of the pivot, and that's normal. I just said that I was paralyzed by fear when I started to pivot because I felt myself having to detach from this version of myself that wasn't real, right? I want you guys to first of all know, A, when you pivot, it is not quitting. B, you can pivot and adjust and adapt to anything. We are like so malleable. Humans are. We can adapt and adjust to literally anything that life throws at us. We will not break. It's just a matter of figuring out the how. So what did I do to pivot? The first most important thing in a pivot is staying true to yourself and honest once you find out who that is and what that means. Because if you are in a position like I was where you're feeling misaligned because you've been trying to be a version of yourself that you are not for so long, it's going to take a while to figure out who that person is. But once you do, show up as that person. Stay true to yourself and be honest. So many people, when they pivot, there's this like, people feel like they have to justify themselves. And that was one thing about me. I'm not explaining myself. I am not explaining myself. I am not justifying my actions just because it didn't make sense to anybody else. So when I pivoted, I stood strong in my decision. I stayed honest. I stayed upfront. I stayed true to my core. And I allowed those who felt called to come with me. I did not expect everyone to follow me. I did not expect anyone to follow me. I also did not expect anyone to understand. I went about it in the best way I knew how, and I tried to be as authentic as possible about it, as truthful about it as I could, with a lot of the stuff needing to be discreet with the startup. I just did my best, and that's all people can expect of you. But if you do it with authenticity and staying genuine and honesty, you can't lose. Now, if you're going about things in a shady way or, doing it from a fear-based position, people are going to feel that and ain't nobody going to follow you. So just keep that in mind and just know that you are allowed to make decisions that don't make sense to other people. If we want to get real, throw it way back, me being in this industry to start with made no sense to anybody. Me going full-time in this industry made no sense to anybody. Me not using my 4-year degree that I spent millions, LOL, not millions, but that I spent so much money getting and so much time getting and so much effort getting, didn't make sense to anybody. Did I care? No. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And that's just your reminder, and I'm a testament to this, that your decisions don't have to make sense to people. You don't need permission. Now, we don't want to just go around, guns blazing, just doing whatever we want and, making so many problems in our path and ruining relationships and burning bridges and all of these things, making people feel bad. No, of course not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying just burn it all down, but it's okay for you to set a few things on fire and walk away from stuff that doesn't serve you and say hell no to things that are not it anymore and make a pivot and change and adjust and completely decide to do an overhaul of your life if that's what you feel is necessary. And that's what I felt was necessary. I was stuck. We were complacent for 2 years. There was so much value I felt called to bring, and it just wasn't happening there. Like I've said multiple times before, it wasn't just about me. I felt this intense weight on my shoulders that, like, my people, the people on my team weren't having success. And it almost felt like, good for you, Bailey, you're getting your paycheck every month, but what's happening to the people who trusted you? That's what did it for me. And so, hell yeah, if I found somewhere that could still provide that extra stream of income for them, those women on my team who are moms, brand new moms, single moms, dads even, like if there was somewhere better out there for them where I could, still flourish and I could help them flourish. Sorry, but that's, in my mind, and I know we're all different here, but in my mind, that's a no-brainer. Was it a scary decision? Absolutely. It was super scary. And it was not at the best time in my life. Let's be real. It was not at the best time in my life. But we figured it out and now we're on the other side. And that's why I'm doing this episode, because there's so much of a deeper conversation to this whole like scaling your business from 50K to 300K a month. Okay, we get it. That's cool. The numbers are cool. That's awesome. Sure, it's a great testimony. But there is such a deeper conversation to be had here than the numbers, because it has changed so much more than just that. We have built a culture. We have started a movement. We are revolutionizing the industry as a company, but we're also revolutionizing the way that this business is done as a team. And it's something that I am so proud of. Like, I will literally scream to everybody what I do for work because I am so proud and so confident in it. And I know that if someone wants to make significant income and make a significant impact, this is like absolutely where they should be. No ifs, ands, or buts. So when you make a pivot, just know it's not about someone else validating it, understanding it, or giving you permission. It's about you and what you need to do, and go about it in the absolute best way that you can, with the most integrity you can, in the way that God is leading you. But also don't allow that to keep you back, because sometimes we just have to do things that make no sense to the masses for those people who are looking to us to lead them. So we talked about the rebrand, we talked about the pivot. Now, what did I do to scale? This is where things get a little bit tactical. And like I said at the beginning, I can't teach you how to scale your business unless you're on my team and in my organization. Then I will teach you until I'm blue in the face, girl. But I can't teach you how to scale every single business, but what I can say is that all of these things can be related to any job and any industry and any position. You just have to kind of tweak it to fit wherever you're at. I truly believe that these are all things that are not only going to lead you to scale bigger and increase your paycheck, but it's also going to help you increase the confidence in yourself. It's going to help you show up as a bolder, more confident version of you. It's going to allow you to attract more like-minded people who get it, people who are on that same wavelength. It's going to allow you to build something that you align with because you're showing up in that bold authority and confidence. So this episode is about scaling a business, but I also want you to take a step back after you listen to this, and if you're notes or whatever, and look at the underlying messages as well and the deeper rooted conversations here, because you can scale a business and still not grow yourself. You will hit a breaking point with that as well, and there will be a point where you can't go further until you address yourself. But it's so much more than just increasing your revenue, okay? So what did I do to scale? What did I do to have this transition be what it has been. Give me a sec. I had to take a drink of my Energize because we're about to dive in. Okay. Number one, I stopped relying on just sales and I relied on culture. What does that mean? I had to take a serious look at what I wanted to build. And what I did is I looked back at my mentorship and, the culture and just certain situations that were stuck in my head and were some of the reasons why I was feeling misaligned and wanted to leave and whatever, right? I took a look at all of that and I tried to figure out the why behind it. And I tried to figure out why it rubbed me the wrong way or why it was something that ultimately led to my decision to leave. Part of that was focusing solely just on the numbers. You guys heard this whole thing I just preached on about how this episode's about scaling, but there's so much more than the numbers, right? And that's the truth with anything. Obviously, this is a business. It needs to be profitable. We need to make money. We're all aware. However, when it comes down to quality of life and your enjoyment around what you do for work and actually wanting to help people and actually wanting to make an impact and deciding to show up every day, because we don't have bosses here. We gotta wake up and just decide that we're gonna do what we know we need to do. It's hard sometimes. And if you can focus on culture and impact versus just sales, everything is going to change. Not only that, but people are going to feel so much more valued. And that's one thing that is a recurring topic of conversation within my team. They love being on this team. And I love them being on this team. Not a day goes by where I don't talk about how grateful I am, how appreciated they are, how much I love them. Like, it's a family. And I know a lot of people say like, oh, keep relationships and business separate. No, don't. Because the heartbeat that this team and this organization has is unlike any other. And I truly, no questions asked, that has led to our significant revenue that we put up every single month. And people feeling happy and excited and appreciated and valued and loved. That is going to encourage them to work harder. That's going to encourage me to work harder. That's going to encourage our sales to increase. That's going to encourage the morale to be up and just further reinforce the culture that we want. So I stopped relying on just sales. I stopped focusing so much on the number, and I built a team with culture. I focused on impact. The next thing that I did was I showed up every day like this was $1 million brand, even when it was not yet. This is really important, not only in sales, but also on social media, is acting as if. And I don't mean fake it till you make it, because I hate that. I don't think that you can fake it. There's an extent to that where, show up before you feel ready, like that kind of stuff. I think you can fake it till you make it. But I truly led this team of 5 the same way that I led my team of 1,900. I did the exact same thing. And that was something I was really, really intentional about when I first came over and made this pivot. Is I was like, if I want this to be what I think it could be, I need to show up as if it's already that way right now. We were in a pre-launch phase and I knew what this was going to be. I was so excited about the science and the calls we were getting on. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be a $1 billion company. My team is going to be $1 million or multiple $1 million team, and I need to show up that way right now so that I attract the type of people who are gonna help me make that happen. And that's exactly what I did. And this is kind of the point in time where I started to have to make some more tough decisions, because I had just launched this incredible company. We had our social media management agency. I was taking one-on-one clients. I had a mastermind for small business owners who wanted to scale their businesses online, build a brand, and increase their presence on social. It was so fun. I absolutely loved it. But as my team started growing at this rapid rate, because of all the things we just talked about in this podcast episode, I was drowning. And so at this point, I had to make another hard decision. This is something that I want you guys to know, there's never going to be a point where you're just here and chilling. You might be for a little bit, but then you're going to have the next goal, or you're going to have the next milestone, or you're going to have the next problem. I always say new level, new devil. And that's exactly what happened. I built this team as if it was $1 million brand, and it started to get up there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never even done past 50K. Now we're doing 100, and then we hit 200, and it just started just exploding. Month after month was our biggest month ever, and it was just incredible. It was such a cool thing to be a part of, but on the inside, I was literally dying, you guys. Like, I was so stressed. I did not know how to lead this many people at once. I didn't know what I was doing. I was feeling scared. I was feeling like unequipped, and at the end of the day, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to make a decision. And the biggest thing I have learned in entrepreneurship is that you go where the momentum is. I absolutely loved my business of coaching people, but I made the choice to stop taking clients. I closed my mastermind. I still talk to those girls all the time, like literally almost every single day. Some of them joined me here with Make Wellness too, because they saw what was happening. They're like, girl, this is crazy. So I had to stop taking clients, and that business is not closed. I'm still gonna, help and create trainings, and I'm still gonna create offers and be able to help other entrepreneurs and other network marketers in my space. But I had to take a break. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, the momentum is here, and it would be absolutely crazy to take more time away from that in order to focus on my clients. But I also am not the type of person who felt comfortable continuing to take on more clients or even keep the ones that I had when I knew I couldn't give them my all. That is not me. It is not in my blood. I don't have it in me. And so I just had a conversation with them, and I was like, yo, here's what's happening. I love you. I want to help you with your business. I'm still here. Please reach out. But I got to go where the momentum is. And that leads me to number 3. I led with boldness and not fear. When I first initially chose to make this pivot into my coaching business, that was so scary. Putting yourself out there is freaking scary, whether it's network marketing or your own business or a brick and mortar. I do not care. That shit is scary, like beyond, okay? And I'm lucky. Like, my family's so supportive. All my friends are so supportive. Like, half of my friends don't even know what the hell I do. And they're like, hell yeah, queen, get it. Like, they don't even know, okay? But they're in it. They're like, we support you. I have the best people in my life, and I still was scared. It still is hard to put myself out there. So I can't even imagine for those of you who maybe don't have that support. So that's what I'm here to be. I'm here to be your support. I led with boldness, not fear. I stepped out. I said, it's time to launch this business. And then when it was time to pivot because this company was taking off and I needed to step into this momentum, I led with boldness again. I stood strong in my decision, and I said, okay, time to pivot. We're going full blown with this company because there's only so many hours in a day, and I needed those hours to be spent with intention and where the momentum was, because this is booming. And I was not about to be the reason that slowed down, right? So that was the third thing. I led with boldness, not fear. Every single time I've made a pivot, that's all I've done. I was scared out of my mind to leave a consistent, high-paying, well, let's not say high-paying, normal wage job to go and pursue personal training, where I knew I was going to have to build a clientele and work on a, client for client basis. So scary, made it happen. It was great. I loved it. Literally cried when I quit that job because I loved it so much. But my bosses were probably like, girl, why are you in here quitting if you're like bawling your eyes out? This is weird. But I loved it. But again, I had to make a bold decision because my last company was taking off, where I could really make it grow if I went full time. It was right after COVID. The gym scene wasn't the same. I was ready to get out of it. And I was super sad, but it was a bold decision. That was scary. And then it was scary, to leave that. And then it was scary to switch companies. And now it's scary to start another business. It was scary to start a podcast. Like, guys, are we catching on to the recurring theme here? Scary shit is good for you. Get out of your comfort zone. Nothing good comes from being like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, can I, ma'am, yes, please, no, no. Good things come from bold action, messy action, fear, and nervousness, and getting out of your own damn way, seeing what comes of it. Don't be reckless. Don't put yourself or your family in a bad position. Like, duh. But I mean, take some risks. It's fun and nerve-wracking, but it's fun. And when you're on the other side of it and it pays off, it is freaking fun. Let me tell you. You guys, like, I want to shake people because I was once that person. I was like, I want to go to college. I want to get a 4-year degree. I want to have a 401k and retire when I'm 65. I think that's going to be so great. I come from a family of entrepreneurs and I've seen how stressful it can be. I just want stability. No, girl, it's not in my blood. It's not happening. And if that's you, even if you are cut out for the 9 to 5, still be bold. Make sure you're in a position where you like. You're asking for the pay you deserve. You're getting treated with respect. You're in a position that, you should be in. Like, hello. Doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or you're an employee. You still deserve to be in a position that makes you feel good about yourself and good about waking up and going to work every day. But anyways, I digress. The last thing that is what I really focused on when I wanted to scale is I made sacrifices that most people would not. And I say this because I have been called crazy. I have been called boring. I have been called lame. I have been called a party pooper. And I just don't give a shit. I really don't. You just have to be okay with the fact, again, recurring theme, that not everybody's going to understand or accept what you're doing. There are multiple times when I've stayed home from parties, when I've said no to plans, I've not gone out to dinner because I'm either saving money so that I can take my next course, or because I'm at home working, or because I want to wake up early and go to the gym and be the best version of myself, and I don't want to go out. There's been plenty of nights where I've said yes and I've gone out and it's been wild and fun and great and I love it. I will never say no to a skinny margarita. We know this. But I've also been called boring more times than I can count, and I don't care. I made sacrifices that sucked the life out of me sometimes too. The sacrifices that weren't necessarily boring, the ones that were really freaking hard and that I didn't want to make. Sacrifices like for 5 months living apart from my husband because we were trying to figure it out. We needed to move back to Wyoming. We wanted to move back to Wyoming. He didn't have a job yet. I wasn't quite making what we needed to make yet. We were in the midst of this transition to make wellness, and he had to keep his job. So that was a sacrifice. I just lived for the first 5 months in our new house in a different state, brand new town, by myself so that we could stay afloat. Because him and I both knew I needed to make this transition and this pivot. Short-term sacrifice, long-term gain. Now he's home. He doesn't have a job. I'm taking care of business for now. He'll find one. But like, if I never would have pivoted and we never would have made that sacrifice for that short-term time, who knows? If I'm still making what I was making at my last company, there ain't no way he's coming home. At all. Ever. Like, it wasn't good. But look now. The sacrifices, the bold action, the stepping out in fear, it was all worth it. And listen, I'm not naive. I don't think that every single person is going to have this story where it feels like their life changed almost overnight. I'm not stupid. I'm not naive. I know that. However, how are you supposed to get anywhere if you don't move, if you stay planted and rooted? And I also want to talk about asking for permission. I want you guys to be so unapologetic. And like I said, I don't want you to just burn it all to the ground, burn bridges, break hearts, and be self-destructive and just ruin everything in your path. But I do want you to stop asking for permission for anything. If you want to talk to people, if you want to seek counsel, if you want to seek other opinions, you want to weigh the options, sure, do that. But do not ever make a decision based on a box that somebody else wants to keep you in. Asking for permission is the quickest way that you will get nowhere. And I know this because I used to be the person who asked for permission for absolutely everything. And this kind of leads me to the mindset part. You have to truly 1000% believe in what you're doing, why you're doing it, the direction you're going, and how fast you're going to get there. Otherwise, how can you expect anybody else to get it, or anybody else to buy in, or anybody else to give a shit? They won't. This can take so much inner work, So sit back and really think of one thing. One thing, and then we're going to wrap this baby up. What is the cost of staying where you are? You might be making money. That's fine. You're chilling. But what's the cost of you not taking the chance to do what you want to do? What's the cost of staying the same? The cost of staying stuck? This is where blind faith and confidence in yourself comes in. Because are you going to make the leap worth it? That's where I was. I had to believe that I had the grit and the tenacity and the work ethic to rebuild and make sure it was worth it. I also had to believe in myself that I know a good opportunity when I see one, that I wouldn't ever lead people astray, that I would never jump without understanding, without knowledge, without background, without credibility. Knowing what I know now, what was my cost of staying there? My cost of staying where I was is the life I'm living now, is the day that I just had today. I had a great day. Before Cole moved home, I would say 1 out of every 7 was a great day. I truly think that I'm stepping out of the hardest season I have ever gone through in my entire life. And that's also just a testament to the fact that money, I know guys, this entire episode is about scaling your business and the numbers, but the numbers are not everything. The money was not everything. Us living separate so we could be making what we were making, I don't care. I do not care. Coming out of this time in my life, I have now more than ever realized how worth it is to put your head down and grind for a season so that you can have a long-term payoff. It has been so worth it to get out of this season. I'm trying not to get emotional because it truly has been the hardest season. So if you're in a season like that, I really want you to look at what is the cost of staying there. I know that everyone's mind immediately goes to what's the cost of doing the scary thing, what's the cost if it doesn't work out, but that doesn't matter. Like I said at the beginning, we are malleable. Humans are malleable. They are adaptive. We can figure it out. We're going to survive. But what's the cost of not doing it? Is staying where you're at. So the cost of me staying, if I hadn't made this leap, if we hadn't made the leap to then bring Cole home, the cost is my good day that I had today. The cost is my husband not being here today. It's him being back in Colorado, 4.5 hours away from me, where the only time I get with him is through a phone. The cost is still being stuck every night alone and freaking hating life and trying to rebuild and plant roots in a new home by myself when that was never the goal. The cost is still being tied to that job because we needed the money, because I was in no position to provide for our family with my old income at my old company. So what is the cost for you of staying here? And like I said, not every decision can be made overnight. Not everybody has a husband's income to fall back on that would allow me, that did allow me to pivot. Some of these pivots and changes are going to take more time. They're going to have to be a little bit more calculated than mine was. You might have a lot more people writing and needing you to provide for them than I did. But think about the people relying on you, whether that's a team that's looking to you to bring the best opportunities to them, whether that's them looking to say when it's okay to pivot or to walk away from something that's no longer providing what we thought it was going to provide, whether that's your babies that are looking to you to support them through college. What is the cost of staying where you're at? Focus on that instead of the cost of being scared and doing it anyway. I promise you, you can always go back. Don't burn it all down so you have something to fall back on, but figure out what the cost is and if you are willing to eat that cost or if you need to move. You have to figure it out, and you're the only person who can figure that out for yourself. So take these tips, If you're in a season where you're ready to scale, you're ready to grow, take these tips. You can literally put them and tweak them to any industry, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. You can take them and tweak them and still use them to grow and scale and elevate. Whether you're looking to elevate your own personal, life, you're doing a life overhaul, whether you're looking to scale a business, whether you're looking to increase your numbers and hit different KPIs at your job for your boss. It doesn't matter whether you're looking to just step into a whole new season period as a family or as a couple or as an individual, as a mother, a father. You can take these things and execute. The worst thing you can do is listen to this and do nothing with it, okay? I didn't do all of this to prove anything. I did it because I knew that we deserved options. I did it because I didn't want to keep watching Cole leave and work away from home. I didn't want our life to depend on someone else's paycheck they were giving us. And now he can take a pay cut. He can come home. We can spend our days together. And again, I don't want this podcast to be this boasting thing, right? However, I carry this with pride because I don't think that enough people in our society take these leaps that can be scary, and it in turn keeps them stuck, and it keeps society kind of in this. It reminds me of a crab bucket. That's the best way that I can explain it. A crab bucket. That is how our society is. And when there's crabs that start getting to the top and maybe making their way out of the bucket, more crabs pull them down. That's just like how crabs work. And that's how our society is. When people start elevating and doing things that are out of the norm and doing things that make other people feel uncomfortable with where they're staying stuck, it makes them want to pull you down. So I don't have this podcast to boast or to say, look at me, or to make you feel like I've made it or anything like that, because I am still very well on my way. I'm still learning so much. But if this episode and this podcast can just make you think for 1 minute a little bit differently, or for 1 minute give you the confidence to go out and do what you want to do and tell everyone to F off, then I have done my job. I built this brand to be a blessing for us and for the people that we serve, and to just be in this season where I can feel that it is finally turning into something that I have dreamt of for so long. I just am feeling even more convicted to share that with other people. So take notes, write down the things that I mentioned. I'll put it in the show notes as well so you can copy and paste it, and just decide one thing to implement every single week. And if you're in a position where you are ready to make a pivot, but you don't know where to pivot or how or where to even start, DM me. Reach out. I am an open book, and I will help you. We can talk through it. I don't know everything. I can't guarantee you I have an answer for you, but let's talk through it. Because the one thing I don't want for anybody listening is to stay stuck if they are unhappy with where they're at. But I love you all, and be on the lookout for the next few episodes. I have them planned, you guys. I said a podcast a week. An episode a week. Come bang my door down if you don't see an episode from me next week. I'm serious, you guys. There are some really good ones coming. So I will talk to you guys next time. I love you all. Thank you for listening, and we will talk soon. Thanks for tuning in to So On Brand. I hope you loved this episode. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with your business besties, put it on the gram, all the things. You know the drill. I'll see you guys next time.